Welcome to my PowerPoint about assessing risk in sport. Right. I will start off the presentation by talking about legislation. Legislation is a generic term for laws. These laws are put in place at work and in sport to ensure safety precautions are taken into account. The Health and Safety at Work Act was made a law to ensure bosses take measure to ensure health and safety of their employees due to thousands of accidents that were previously happening at work. This was achieved by making sure the working environment and equipment was up to standard, introducing more regular safety checks, providing info, training and supervision to ensure workers do their jobs safely. Also, regular monitoring of the working environment was taken into place to ensure hygiene. RIDDLE means Reporting of Injuries, Diseases and Dangerous Occurrences Regulation. It ensures that all deaths, diseases and dangerous occurrences were reported using the Incident Contact Centre. PPE stands for Personal Protective Equipment. The Personal Protective Equipment regulation was put in place to ensure the safety of the worker. Items such as safety helmets, gloves, eye protection, high visibility clothing, safety footwear and safety harnesses were all made compulsory in jobs in construction to lower the amount of work-related injuries. Fire Safety and Safety of Places of Sports Act was put in place after a devastating fire at Bradford City Football Ground in 1985, where 56 people died. The Act includes that all grounds with permanent covered stands for 500 or more spectators are required to have a certificate from the local safety authority. Here are all the similarities and differences between the legislations. Instead of me reading from the slides, feel free to pause the video and read the table, as there will be a table of similarities and differences for many of the topics throughout this PowerPoint. Here are the legal factors. In loco parentis is Latin for emplacement of a parent. It is when a person or organisation has to take on some of the functions and responsibilities of a parent. A good sporting example of this is when a football coach is responsible for all the children they teach for the hour of their session. The coach is responsible for anything that happens to the children. This is why often they will have to do a register to make sure nobody gets lost, as it is their responsibility. Negligence is the name given to a situation in which a person in a supervisory role fails to meet a standard of care. A sporting example of this is if someone did not complete a risk assessment of an event and someone ended up seriously injured or died. Duty of care is the responsibility of a person or organisation to take all reasonable measures necessary to prevent activities that could result in harm to other individuals and their property. An example of this is a manufacturer for sports equipment. When they make a product, they need to make sure it is safe to use for the person who buys it. They should also include labels warning the buyer of any potential dangers to prevent injuries. Higher duty of care is very similar, however. Duties of care refer to a legal obligation to one person, for example a coach or teacher, to ensure health and safety of their class or group. However, if a coach or teacher has a duty of care, then the headmaster, or for example manager of the school or sports centre, has a higher duty of care to ensure health and safety of the teachers and to the pupils. Here are the similarities and differences between the legal factors. The laws. Three important laws are the statutory law, civil law, and case law. The statutory laws are written laws set by the government authority, and anyone who breaks them is arrested or prosecuted. This can occur in a sport when an Olympic performer is caught taking performance-enhancing drugs. They can be prosecuted and banned from the Olympics. Civil laws deal with the rights of private citizens. No police, for example, when a person is suing a company for negligence, like if a swimmer sued the pool owner for failing to remove a serious hazard that could lead to potential harm to the swimmers, as this would be a health and safety issue. A case law is when a similar case has occurred previously. The accused person is prosecuted or sued. This is in a similar manner to the previous case. The four courts. The court system is separated into four. The magistrates' court, the lower court. The magistrates' court is the lowest court and deals mainly with minor criminal matters. The Crown Court deals with serious criminal charge with a judge and jury, such as murders. The Supreme Court is the highest court in England and deals with appeals from the Court of Appeals. The European Court of Justice is the supreme law court in Europe. All member states must abide by such laws. The regulatory bodies. Regulatory bodies are set up to police employers and facilities so that they meet certain regulations. The Health and Safety Executive acts in the public interest to reduce work-related death and serious injury across Great Britain's workplaces. The local authorities are the Health and Safety Executive and local authorities are responsible for enforcing regulations. Staff from these organisations will inspect facilities and speak to staff to ensure the facilities are being run appropriately. If they fail, they will be given actions to take in a certain amount of time, and if they fail to do so, then the facilities could be shut down until it meets the health and safety regulations. An example of this occurring is when a swimming pool may not be cleaning the pool as frequently as required. They will then be told by the regulatory body to alter this, and they have a month to get it up to standards. If they do not meet the standards in the given time, then the pool will be closed down. National governing bodies in sport are organisations, for example Sport England, who apply regulations and sanctions to reduce risk in sport and make them safer. An example of the work that national governing bodies do in sport is balancing competition. This is why, for example, leagues and age groups in junior football. This is effective because it prevents 15-year-olds from playing against 11-year-olds, which would be unfair as older players will be a lot more developed and will play more physical than the younger ages. This is a potential risk, so all ages are kept separate during junior football. They also enforce rules such as compulsory protective equipment. This would be shin pads in football or a gum shield in rugby. Here are the similarities and differences between the regulatory bodies. The next few slides are examples of risk assessments I have made myself. Risk assessments are used to assess the risk of different activities or sports. By carrying them out, we can help to reduce risk and remove any hazards from these activities. Here are my two risk assessments for two different sports, surfing and football. They are set out quite simply in a table and state the potential hazards and how likely they are to occur. They also state how severe these hazards could be. By multiplying the scores for likelihood and severity, you get the level of risk. For each hazard, I've also described what can be done to avoid them. This is good because it provides different options and strategies to reduce the risk and take part in both sports much more safely.